All right. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the VW ID Talk podcast. We are the hosts, Wes and Jan, and today we are coming to you in tiny little windows because a lot of folks have asked for us to do more hands-on things about how to retrofit mods. And Jan has an extensive GitHub page where he has documented these mods, and today he's going to show you a really cool one where he retrofitted the European animated taillights to his American ID.4 and explain why he would do such a crazy thing and what was involved in doing it. Jan, why don't you tell us what you did? And I'm going to ask lots of questions.
So as we went through the process, we want to document as much as possible. And we'll show you the GitHub page that has step-by-step. But what we also wanted to do, we didn't want to focus this only on the retrofitting the IQ taillight or the animated Euro taillight. We also wanted to kind of step back and think about what would be the right process, or what could be the right process if you decide to retrofit a component to your car, anything that wasn't there, 360 camera, rear heated seats, trailer hitch, and etc.
Okay. So here where it says 8VP, retrofitting European taillights, that's the option. That's the code of the feature code of the option. Is that the right word?
Exactly.
Okay.
So VW has a official name for this, which is so-called product code. Okay, so why would you retrofit a component? So specifically Euro taillights? Well, I think two reasons. I believe that the Euro taillights are safer. And by the way, there is a great study from Department of Transportation Highway Safety about safety of specifically yellow or amber turn lights. And because the IQ taillights anime, there are 9 segments that play different patterns, then they're inherently more fun. So to me, these are 2 good reasons why I was crazy.
You need to install mirrors that extend off the back of your car so that you can see them too.
Exactly. I need to have some additional 360 coverage of my car. Maybe I need to fly a drone above the car or something. I don't know.
But it's a really good point about the yellow or amber signals being safer. And the reason for that is because a lot of cars, when somebody has their emergency blinkers on, if you're in the wrong position, you can't tell if it's their emergency flashers or they're just indicating a turn, or if they're applying the brake, or if they're indicating a turn and one of their brake lights is out. And with amber, it's not ambiguous. So, I never really noticed that problem before, but now that it's been brought to my attention, it's going to bother me forever.
And I'm sorry, this is something that the European people notice as the first thing when they come to the US, that many cars have red turn lights. So and so the US spec taillights, that's the code 8VG that were available here in the US, have red turn indicator that is physically linked to the brake light. And then for some simplification on later models, VW has removed that separate segment. And these, of course, that were shipped do not have a segment, the segment animation. So this is the ID.4.
So the US spec product code is 8 Victor Golf, and the European product code that's animated and has amber indicators is 8 Victor Papa.
So. Well, not just that. It becomes a little bit more complicated because the 8VG is also available in Europe, and those are the base taillights. But in Europe, when we look at this taillight here, in Europe, this segment here and this segment is amber.
Right. So you could have retrofitted the European base, but you decided not to, because if you're going to spend all that money, you might as well get the nice ones, right?
And exactly, and effort, exactly. So I could have the amber lights with less effort, and to do that, you technically can just replace this left light and the right light. Of course, it's not plug and play because it doesn't have enough wires, and also seen people who actually tried to rechip these lights into yellow, because there are LEDs inside that you can technically rechip.
So the base model product code is 8 Victor Golf, but that could be either amber indicators for the European version or red for the American version. And the nice upgraded ones that are not available in the US are 8 Victor Papa.
Precisely. So right here, we have comparison side by side, where on the left-hand side, it has this, I would say, the typical C shape for the taillight. as we discussed on the US version, this segment is red. On
Mm-hmm.
a base light in Europe, this is yellow. Um, this middle segment here, this bigger one, it's a brake light, so it's more intense light. And this small tiny light that is actually in the central segment, that is the backup light. That's the white backup light.
Okay.
And
And is
so
that the same in the US and European models, that white reverse light?
that is the same. That is the same. The only difference between the US and Euro is that, as we mentioned, internally these two are bridged, so these two are connected, and this one on the bottom is red. So honestly, I have no idea why somebody went through the process and made this change and really even bothered with this, but hey, I guess it is what it is. And here on the right, that's the 8VP, the IQ taillights. That you can see that it also has kind of this C shape for the taillight, but
Okay.
as you see here, these individual segments, there's 9 individual segments that actually stretch across the side and the center portion, and these two are independently controlled and can play different types of animations, can play different patterns.
And can they be different colors as well, or are they always just red?
No, it's just red. Turn light here on the bottom is, of course, the yellow, as you would expect, and the brake light here spans across the 2 physical housings. So it spans from the side housing onto the middle housing, right?
Which it does not do in the other version.
Which is doesn't do it on the other version. Plus, it's this like X sign that is a little bit more prominent for stopping, right?
Yes. Okay.
So here,
so you could have just retrofitted the lights, the outside lights, and not the middle pieces.
Correct. That is correct.
Yes. Looked as good together.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and of course the big difference is the amber at the bottom. So
the amber at the bottom. Yes. Yeah. So technically, there is somebody in who connected us through the VCDS forum in Europe. Who imported US car, and they physically rechipped these lights. They rechipped these LEDs in the light or in the US light, and they disconnected the internal bridging. But that actually requires you to open the taillight, and that's it's actually not as easy as opening the headlights, because the headlights are relatively easy to open. You put it into the oven and you kind of pull it apart. But for the taillight, it's way harder. And plus, you got to seal it so there's no moisture seeping in, right? So
it's like opening an iPad or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Difficult. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the project of the taillights. And now when we step back and think about the process, so
not just for taillights, but for anything you want to retrofit.
Exactly. Okay. Yes. So we need to think about the mechanical feasibility. So would it physically fit?
Will it physically fit? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Then electrically. So do I have the right connector, or do I have enough wires coming in? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the third one, it's kind of the software compatibility, or the coding, or how do I tell all those modules in the car that there is something else, there is something new to talk to. Right.
And the electrical feasibility is not just how many wires. It's about, do you have the right voltage, and do you have the right signal wires?
Exactly.
Because, 25 years ago, you need power and ground, right? And now you need to know if it's hooked up to the LIN bus or the CAN bus, or, is there some other signal wire, the brake signal wire? There's all kinds of things to think about.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
So will it physically fit? Are the electrical wires and signal wires you need there, connector there, and then can you adapt it with software tools like VCDS, or taking it to the factory or whatever, to the shop with Otis?
Exactly.
Okay,
gotcha. Exactly. So the mechanical feasibility, we talked about this, and so for the taillight, it was easy. It just did fit in with the same screws with the same fasteners. I didn't have to buy new fasteners. Everything worked. And when you research such project, the mechanical feasibility, I recommend three links here. The partslink24.com, it's a paid catalog where you can find every single component and the part number. Because when you order a part number in a store, in a shop, you need to know the exact part number. And in the parts link here, you can figure out what part number it is. And they have a table that tells you, okay, this part number and this option, right? We talked about the 8VG and 8VP, right? So you start with the 8VP, the 8VG, that's what you have in the car. And if you want to a different option, you just choose that different option. And so that different option is a different part number of the part that you need to get.
But you can pay for 1 day of access with Parts Link 24. It is fairly reasonable.
I'm not sure if they have 1 day access across the world, but you can pay for a month or week, or I'm not sure what's the least subscription fee that you can pay for. But there is one trick to it. If you sign up for your Parts Link account from the United States, you will not see any European specific brands or European specific VINs. So, of course, to get some parts from Audi or Skoda, potentially, the best is to sign up for the account out in that country that sells these cars.
Yeah, or to have a VPN.
Exactly. Once you sign up, then your account is associated with that country.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about two mods that are kind of interesting. Of course, this is just some proof of concepts that we've been looking at for the ID.4. On the left here is the control head from the Audi A3 or Q4 e-tron. And you see that electrically, it's compatible because when you plug it in, it kind of mirrors all the settings on the display. But of course, hardware-wise, it doesn't fit because the dashboard is built completely differently.
Yeah.
The same applies to, for example, if you would like to replace these buttons with real buttons that are below the dash from the Skoda Enyaq. Same applies. Again, electrically, they fit. The connector is the same, so you can plug them in, but physically, it's a different shape because the dashboard has a different shape. So these are
if you wanted to do that, you have to buy the dash as well, the European dash, and hope that. And maybe that doesn't, there's a rabbit hole you could go down.
That probably would be a big mod, I think, right? But maybe like designing 3D printing some part that would make it as it belongs there would probably be the most feasible in this case.
Okay. Wow.
Another interesting mod that kind of falls into the category that, hey, I'm excited. It's like, this should be so easy to do. But you may run into issues because as you start peeling the onion, you may see a complete different situation. So, for example,
can you put yourself here, Jan? Put yourself full screen if you could, so we can show everybody. So you wanted to do the accent lights, the front accent lights from the GTX.
Yes.
And you get the light here, and it's just
yes, exactly. So I went onto Parts Link and I found which part it is. And they told me it's this part. Okay, well, so I was quite surprised what I got because I thought, well, that's something from some like truck or something, right? It didn't even seem like it's a light for the ID.4. But what it seems like, I was missing a front fascia, right? Front fascia that I need to put in the front of this, and then the light is behind this. But unfortunately...
And that's not clear at all looking at the picture that it's not one piece, right?
Exactly. Plus, there is a complete piece of the bumper. Wow. So this is some bumper retainer for each side that has a special housing here. You see this big hole. That's the hole where this light gets affixed. Right.
Okay. So you need does that bumper mount piece replace another bumper piece that's already there?
Like that is correct. Yes.
Okay. So you need a whole bumper mount piece replacement, which is probably $100 from the dealer, or maybe $50 from
the bigger piece. The bigger challenge is that to make this to replace the bumper holder, you need to drop the bumper, right? So it means jack, wheels down, fenders, the wheel liners down, and etc. So it is a little bit more involving than what it may look when you just like explore this on the Parts Link or on these sites. So I definitely want to kind of say, hey, warning, right?
Yeah.
This may seem easy, but it's not. So for mechanical feasibility for the Euro taillights, it was all good. It was all fitting with the existing mounting hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are two things that I wanted to show you. We talked about a PR code, or the code that VW uses when they add a specific feature into your car. And this is the OEM VWshop.com. It's also a store from where I bought a couple of these components that are only available in Europe. And so, for example, if you add the 8VG here, it will tell you, okay, so it's a rear combination lamp, and the IQ light, the one that animates, is with variable lighting functions.
Okay.
Is it clear? Is it not? I don't know, but it's
Well, to be fair, I want to be clear about what you just showed us. So there are different levels of mechanical feasibility. So mechanically, for your tail light project, those are the easiest possible version of mechanical feasibility. You unscrew the old one and you screw the new one in.
Yes.
And then the next level of complicated is those GTX accent lights, where they also fit perfectly mechanically. You just need two new pieces. You need the mount or the fascia, and you need the mounting bracket, which is different. But those all bolt up. But then the third level would be you have to fabricate something to mount them, and if you don't want to use zip ties, and that's where you're getting to something that's beyond my skill level, and you either need to have 3D printing skills or some other kind of welding.
And we talked to Bill Carlson, who electrified his DeLorean with Chevy Bolt and parts, and so he's retrofitting the window switches, for example, and he's printing brackets for those GM light switch to fit to kind of snap into his DeLorean, right? So that's kind of the level of modifications that at some point from the mechanical perspective, you need to go
next level.
Next level. Yeah, exactly.
All right. But so far for the tail lights and for the GTX accents lights, as long as you buy the right parts, you can just add them onto your car. It may not be easy, but they fit. Okay.
Agree. So now the next step is electrical feasibility. So is the connector that the component came with compatible? Is there such a connector at all for for example, for the Euro taillights, the connector is kind of there, but it's different, and I'll show that in a minute. For the GTX signature lights, the connector isn't there, the harness isn't there, because the car was never shipped with that feature. Same for US, your trailer harness is not installed in your car, because you don't have the trailer module, and so the wires are not routed to where you would expect them, right?
And that means that you're going to have to find a connector that fits and rewire it, maybe repin it. You're going to show us all that, I guess.
Yeah, I'll show that. But before we go there, I also wanted to show you the partner, the company Kufatech, who actually sells entire retrofit. So for the taillights, they do have a retrofit, but unfortunately, they don't ship it yet outside of Germany, because this is something that you need to come with your car to their German warehouse and shop, and they will do it for you.
And that's because they haven't validated that the kit will work.
They haven't validated it yet, and they
this
haven't
would be
validated
for somebody,
especially on the US cars. Yeah. Sorry.
This would be for somebody in the European Union that had the base taillight package and wanted to upgrade to the animated package.
Precisely.
And they've already got the amber turn signals. It's just for coolness.
Yes, 100%. But they have tons of other components that you can get from them. Right.
Some are OE components and some are not. Like these chargers are not necessarily OE, and these those dash cameras you saw up there. But then a lot of these others, they custom built these harnesses and those little coding dongles. Where you install their kit and you just plug the dongle into your OBD2 connector and it codes your car.
And codes your car. Exactly. So that's the Kufatech is definitely the easiest way. But if you want to get your hands dirty, you can from VW. They have wiring diagrams and service manuals. So wiring diagram is obviously important to figure out, okay, so how things are connected. And in the wiring diagram, it doesn't clearly link to the codes, but you can find a version of it that has the clear product codes. But the Irwin that we are linking here also has service manuals. And so when you, for example, want to route some wires, you need to know how to undo the interior trim. And because you don't want to break any clips, right? So the service manuals specifically show you step by step how to open the inside of your car.
Okay.
So let's do quick whiteboarding, and
Okay.
I don't mean to kind of
Oh my God.
overwhelm anybody with with this, but this is just a quick snippet of when you would look for when you would look into the wiring diagram, what you would find pertaining specifically the left taillight, right? So this box on the top is the central electronic control module. That's the one that I've shown here maybe before.
So that black box, the Volkswagen's designator J means that it's a module.
Yeah.
Okay. J, and then the 519 is which module it is. But if you look at the back of this thing, if we can, you can't really zoom in and focus, but the part number is not going to say J519 anywhere on it.
It won't. Yeah, it won't.
Right.
This part number. Yeah, it's a yes, correct. Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the pieces that makes it harder for the layperson looking at this. When you're looking at the diagram Jan's showing us here, we know that J519 is the central electronics control module, and we also know what part number it is. How does a layperson find out that information? How do they find out what's the, go ahead.
Well, that's a really good point. I would just think that you can find it based on the parts link, right? From the parts link. But again, the problem is that there are different versions of this central
J519 could be 10 different parts depending on what options are installed.
Okay. Exactly. And are we talking about like Euro ID.4, US ID.4, Skoda, and ENIAC, and other different cars, ID.3, and etc. Right? So those
it's easy for me to find the information because I just ask Jan, when I need to find the information. But yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you. You're trying to say different. No. It's all called J519. And the layman's term name is the convenience. The central electronics control module. Sorry, not convenience. Central electronic control module, and then the J519. And so there could be many different parts depending on the car that all are called the same thing by Volkswagen. And then the M designation for MX3. What is the M normally used for?
So in this case, it's a headlight. So it's the external part. It's the outer headlight. The either left or MX4 is the right one.
Okay. All right. So we just know that MX3 is the left tail light, MX4 is the right tail light.
And in the wiring diagram, they have legend where they tell you what these mean, right? But then you have to figure out the part number through the parts link or through through your dealer, because your dealer has access to very similar system that looks like the parts link.
Right. And so what you're showing us here on this whiteboard is that the central electronics control module from your car, and this is with the original. This is with your US module
US taillight. Yes.
Connects to the MX3 left taillight. And what you can see here is that a gray black, so that's Grau Schwarz. Grau is German for gray. Schwarz is German for black. A gray wire with black dashes goes from connector T73B. That means it's the second connector with 73 pins. The first one would be T73A, right? So T73 means it's a 73 pin connector. It's B, which means the B instance of that connector. And this last 31 means it's pin number 31 on that 73 pin connector that gray black wire connects to. The 0.5 is the diameter of the wire in square
millimeters.
It's not the surface. It's the surface area.
In square millimeters, yes.
Square millimeters.
Yes. So it's not the American wire gauge, as you can tell, right? Because the number would be completely different. Yeah.
But there are conversions online, and I think the 0.5 is something like 20 gauge. Maybe
you can convert it online.
There's plenty of online converters. Yeah. But you'll want to use, when you're wiring things up, you'll want to use a similar gauge. And so you just look for square
thicker.
millimeter.
You can go always thicker, but never thinner.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting that when you mention this, because there is also this brown wire that is ground. So normally all brown wires are ground,
but not always.
And you see that this one is thicker. Well, most of them are brown, and
in Volkswagens
it's thicker. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Ford uses like a green and black, or so everybody has a different.
Totally.
But Volkswagen, Audi, Skoda, Seat, those are going to be brown wires. Are going to be ground.
Yep.
And you were saying it's thicker because why were you saying it's thicker?
Well, it has to be thicker because electrically, it's ground for all these signals, right?
Okay. All right. So you can see that you've got something plugged in on that 73 pin connector to pin 31, to pin 71, and to pin 60.
60. Yeah.
Okay. And then we're seeing that, and the 71 and 68, we imagine, are the turn signal indicator and the brake light indicator.
Exactly.
Because
yes.
you said they were connected together.
Yes.
Okay. And then those are plugged into respectively pin 4 on your left tail light.
Yes.
And pin 5.
4 and 5. Yeah.
The gray wire, gray and black is plugged into pin 4, and the red and black is plugged into pin 5.
5. Yes. Precisely. Yeah. Precisely.
Okay.
Yeah. Precisely. And so when we simplify this a little bit, it's exactly what you said, Wes. There are only 3 wires leading into the back connector, right? And then when you're exploring
those 3 being the red, the gray, and the brown ground wire.
That is correct.
Because the 2 up top, the 2 red ones don't count. They're connected together way back up.
That is correct. That is correct. Yes, they're connected together somewhere in the harness. I was not able to find that spot where they are connected, but there's only one of those leading to the rear
tail light. Okay. All right.
And then this is how the IQ light is connected. And so you see that there are more wires now. We have plus 12 volts.
And a LIN bus wire. I'm sorry. And also a turn signal, or is that the same as with the other?
No, that goes to the same pin, but it's not connected this time. And you see that we are missing the tail light wire because that is purely driven by the LIN bus, right? And of course we have the ground here.
And which was the tail light wire from before, the gray and the black?
yes. It was the gray Schwartz, and now it's the black white wire.
Okay, but now that's just turn signal and not. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so you have to get 2 new wires to this thing. So this is for your new one. You need a 12-volt wire, and you need the LIN bus, which comes from a different location. It comes from the gateway.
Different
what gateway is J533? What is that?
I think it's 533.
Okay, but but 533 is a LIN gateway, or what? Some other gateway, or we don't really know.
Just the module that some people call it ICAS1. It's the one that is behind the glove box next to your multimedia system, between the multimedia and the AC module. And this is a gateway for all the buses in the car. It turns out that this LIN bus is connected to the gateway. I have no idea why. It could be on like some different retrofits that there are some other LIN buses going to the central the central electronic module. Because, for example, the ventilated seats, there is a LIN bus that goes directly to the central electronic module. So I don't know why they decided to route LIN to the gateway. I have no idea. That is what it is, right? So may not necessarily be a logic. It's just what it is.
Yeah. So we might have just overwhelmed a lot of people, but I think that if we're going to take a takeaway from this, is that when you compare this, what we're looking at right now, to the other diagram from before, we see that we need 2 new wires. We see that we need one that's a 12-volt wire, and one that's this LIN bus wire from the gateway. And so what Jan was just saying is that you could try to find the LIN bus somewhere else in the car, but what you did was ran it all the way from the gateway in the front of the car, correct?
So I found this LIN bus. It is the same LIN bus that the kick sensor for the real tailgate is, right? So
and there are different versions at the back. There are different LIN buses, like there's bus 1 and bus 2 and bus 3, and you need to make sure you're connected to the same.
Correct. Yes, there are different LIN buses, and you need to make sure it's the right LIN bus. And the LIN bus can have multiple different components connected to it because each component has a different address. Also, so you're spot on, 2 wires, but so the plus 12 volt and the LIN, but also, if you remember, the turn and brake were connected to 1. And I really wanted to preserve the tail wire because if I need to switch back the old taillights, so then to be sure, to be safer, I routed 3 wires, and we'll talk about this in a minute.
Okay. All right. Yep. Sorry, I didn't realize you were going to go into that. So
I will, definitely will. And then there's one more thing that you are now maybe realizing, which is these taillights are powered very differently. Each of these modules on the 8VG taillight are powered by 1 wire, right? But there are no 9 wires to power these animated taillights, right?
Right.
So that means that there is a microprocessor inside of this this light that actually drives those individual components and decides how they turn on.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So
so,
I guess the takeaway from this is when you were trying to do a retrofit like this, you need to find the wiring diagrams for what it currently is, your current feature, and then find the wiring diagram for the feature you're trying to add
yes.
and compare those two things. Excellent. Okay.
So, friends, that's it from this part one. I know that this is already long, but we have way more to show you next time. We'll show you the next step from this electrical feasibility and the electrical change. So please subscribe so you don't miss part 2 of this episode. And thank you for watching.
Thanks.
Bye.